This is Comet Picks by the Glick.
Hey, and I'm your host, Jason Glick.
How you doing, Jason Glick?
I'm doing good, John. How about you?
Oh, not too bad. What do you have for us today?
Okay, well, I've got what is I'm talking about a massive, massive run in comics in recent history because it's rare that a creator's run lasts over 50 issues these days. But I'm talking about a run that's been running that a writer's run that's been running for on a particular title since 2006 or 2000, yeah, thereabouts since the mid aughts roughly. Because I'm talking about Peter David and X Factor. Yeah. Now, John, you know him from his work on Star Trek, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because David has been around the block and back on lots of stuff for Marvel, and DC over the years, and he's got lots of signature works. I mean, like he said, his Star Trek work. He's also wrote a definitive run on Incredible Hulk. Wrote DC's Supergirl for years, but he's also probably best known at Marvel. But in addition to Hulk, for writing a key run on the X Factor back in the mid '90s. Now, his run on X Factor was significant back then because it was a lot more character driven and idiosyncratic than a lot of X titles were at the time. I mean, while a lot of the X Men books at the time were very superhero oriented, superhero driven at the time. In the sense that we were fighting the bad the bad guy of the week and whatnot. David's work was a lot more character driven and figuring out just like quirky stuff. Like his first issue on X-Factor had no major fights. It was just the characters just coming together, getting a sense for their personalities, and just figuring out where to go from there. Like there wasn't a supervillain at all to be found in there, and it was a lot of fun. But even though like his run on X Factor is fondly remembered, it was only collected in 4 volumes for the X Factor Visionaries, because he only lasted about like say 20 odd issues in this run. But everyone remembered it, and they especially remember the examinations issue where the entire team got psychologically examined by Doc Samson. We found out just what made them tick, how let's say what was holding them back and whatnot. This issue is especially remembered for the fact that it finally explained why Quicksilver was such a dick in the Marvel universe because he was a speedster and he had super speed and could run across the world and back in seconds flat. But at the same time, though, he was like living in super speed, but everyone else was just working at just normal speeds. So Quicksilver basically says, "Hey, have you ever been stuck behind a guy at an A-team who doesn't know how to work it, or the person who doesn't understand at Burger King? What do they mean by Whopper, no pickles? Like, and so that is his life. He is constantly living in a world where people live at like in annoyances, live in annoyances, and he has to deal with that. So I mean that was one issue that everyone remembers aside from a run that was generally remembered for being like really character driven for the most part. It was a lot it was a lot of fun, and then years later, because Marvel realizes that, hey, not only do we like Peter David, we also remember his run from X Factor in the mid '90s. Why don't we give him another shot at X Factor? So it started off with the Madrox miniseries. Now Jimmy Madrox, he is the multiple man. Like he's able to generate duplicates of himself through kinetic impact. So like say he just punches his hand against something, he'll be able to generate a duplicate of himself to do stuff. Now Peter David hit on the genius idea in the Madrox series, subtitled Multiple Choice, where like Madrox has figured out, hey, Madrox is a guy who can do anything in life. If he like say he wants to go out, he doesn't have to like decide whether or not to go out on Sunday night. He can just like send out a dupe of himself to go out and have a good time, then come back and he can absorb the memories and whatnot. So the key for this series is that Madrox has been sending out dupes for years to learn about his just do stuff that he wanted to do. Like say he wanted to learn about inner peace, send a dupe over to Tibet. Say he wanted to learn Russian, send a dupe over to Russia. Say he wanted to like have a dupe learn about escape artistry, send a dupe to learn that. And at the same time, though, this also led to a really interesting development with this character, in the sense that the dupes accumulated a lot of personality in and of themselves, like to the point where all of the like every dupe that he made wouldn't be entirely reliable as a exact duplicate of himself. They would represent a person, a part of his personality. Like there'd be the dupe who was Fight Club, who wanted to solve everything through punching, or the other one who wanted to solve things through rationalized discourse and whatnot, or the gay dupe and there you go, or the Hef dupe, who was basically like Hugh Hefner, given physical libidinous form. Now, Madrox's multiple choice was a lot of fun, and it also had the sad distinction of selling fuck all at the time when X-Men miniseries had basically kind of run their course as far as sales generators. But everyone loved it, and so Marvel decided, hey, you know what? If people even hesitantly like something, we're going to go ahead and do a series based off it. So here we have Peter David's X Factor, and it lasted for 112 issues. Yes, that is a fucking metric ton of stuff, and it's not even done yet. Well, it technically is done, but he's not even over yet, because now that the current incarnation of X Factor is over, David is back on board for the relaunch of X Factor as all new X Factor, as Marvel likes to name their things. But here, I haven't read any of that yet. I'm here to talk about the actual X Factor, which is basically Madrox running a detective agency in the Marvel Universe. 112 issues of it. Generally, it's pretty good for the most part. There are some bad parts, but overall, it's I bought all 21 volumes of it, and yeah, I have issues with there are 21 volumes of this series to collect in the first place, but we'll get to that later. Anyway, so I'm not going to go volume by volume, because that would be fucking ridiculous. But I just want to talk about the just the good stuff and the bad stuff about it, because chief among the good stuff is the fact that hey, that Jimmy Madrox is a great character to front a detective agency in the Marvel Universe, in the sense that he's basically acting as a de facto leader for the crew of X-Force, who's made up of Layla Miller, Wolfsbane, Strong Guy, Monet, Richter, Shatterstar, Siren, and Longshot at various points in the series. And he's not really a guy who is a leadership material. I mean, he's just kind of like the joke, even in his base persona, he's kind of like the jokester, the kind of guy who will try to duck responsibility. And he only started being a heading in detective agency because he thought it was cool and noir and whatnot. But he's but because of that, he found himself thrust into a leadership role, and he's forced to deal with it. And it's fun to see him manage this, and also try and manage the various fractious personas of X Factor over the course of the series, and also the various dupes that he comes up with, that David delivers upon us, are actually generally pretty fun to observe it as well over the course of the series. In fact, he could have given us more, instances where where we get more dupes with their own distinctive personalities that I wouldn't have minded, but hey, it's cool as it is. Anyway, second to Madrox in the cast is Layla Miller. Now, Layla was introduced as kind of a walking plot device in the House of M miniseries, in that she was able to allow everyone to remember their memories in this alternate universe. Now, no one knew what to do with her afterwards, even though she had been hyped as this great, fantastic character that everyone was going to love. Then, but David had a good idea of what to do with her, and she showed up early on in his run, and basically as a girl who knew stuff. That's her gimmick. Layla Miller, she knows stuff, and she knew enough to electrocute a guy from Singularity Investigations, or early on, and also how to nudge X Factor into into like their plot appropriate situations to the point where like she like there would be like really curious instances where she would tell them, oh, go to this it's like go to this deli and it's like and pick up my order here and also go into this sewer because this is what's going to happen here and it was just like you were just kind of wondering, what does this have to do with the main plot? And then it was like, oh, so that's what it is. She was clever, and she appeared as a girl for the first quarter of the run, until she got sucked into the Messiah complex crossover and wound up in an alternate future. She aged 5 years, then came back to drag Madrox into this alternate future as well. It's crazy time travel paradox stuff, and even though like her exhortations to Madrox early on that hey, even though I'm 13, we're going to be married later on, it actually makes sense. The more things go on, once she shows up, properly aged from her time travel, and she actually managed the neat trick of actually getting Madrox to make an actual decision as himself, and just instead of having one of his dupes go through it. So that was, that's really cool as well. Seeing their relationship develop over the course of the series is definitely one of its strongest points. But the rest of the cast is also really strong as well. I mean, Wolfsbane, Rain Sinclair, and her troubles over the course of the series provide a lot of great drama. Strong Guy, or Guido Carosella, he's essentially like comic relief, or the big dumb galoot for most of the run. But then eventually he loses his soul. No kidding. As and then finds himself in a very unlikely position later in the run that I'm sure is going to be reversed at some point by Marvel editorial, because you can't have a guy being the ruler of hell for that long. Monet, or M, who she was just started off in Generation X, and David continues her she has super strength, flight, to close range telepathy, and she's basically kind of a lot of the straight person for a lot of the jokes. And since she's really arrogant and has her own strong will to take on things, but it's like but even then it's like David managed to give her managed to make her abrasive personality work in the context with all the her superiority complex work within the context of all the other X Factor personalities, especially with the relationship she develops with Guido later in the run, which it looks like it's going to go one way, but winds up going in someplace far different. Then you've got Richter, who is the as the series starts out, he used to have earthquake powers, but then he lost them when Scarlet Witch said no more mutants. So for a lot of the series run, he was something the token former mutant, or turn normal guy, and it was fun seeing him try to hang tough with the crew, and actually managed to pull that off more often than not, in the sense that he actually had computer skills that people could actually use in the course of the series. But really, his most interesting role was as lover to Shatterstar, who was a Rob Liefeld character that Peter David brought back in and made into Richter's boyfriend. I mean, it was even like this, their relationship was actually a lot of fun, very surprising from the start, because it's something that was apparently planned for for back in the mid '90s, but a gay relationship wouldn't have flown back then. But David, he's very friendly to that to that community, and so he basically pulled the trigger on it, and it actually worked out really well for the most part. Seeing them trying to work through their issues is a lot. It's a lot of fun and really interesting to see how they react to each other. Then you've also got a Siren, the daughter of Banshee, and she goes through lot of interesting series, from living in denial over her father's death to the child she conceives with Madrox. It's and eventually turning into a literal banshee, for lack of a better term. So like really interesting character journey there, and I liked how she like how eventually like how even like her like transition to actual Banshee plays a real role in the series climax. Then you've got Longshot, who's got his whose luck dependent powers are generally pretty fun for the most part. Even though he doesn't have a specific character arc, it's still fun to see. Like David finds a lot of fun stuff to do with him over the course of the series. He's also got Darwin, the evolving mutant, who's created by Ed Brubaker for the X-Men Deadly Genesis miniseries, and David I'm adopting him for X Factor, and he also even though it's like you have to play fast, he plays fast and loose with the whole evolving mutant powers. He actually winds up finding a nice role for the character over the series, and you also got Pip the Troll, who comes in like in the latter half of the series run as kind of X Factor's receptionist, and there's also a great single issue that shows you how he's like man of the earth vibe, keeps the team out of trouble more often than not. So really, it's a X Factor is a great character driven series, and it's got lots of great characters that will keep you involved in the series, even if sometimes the stories aren't quite up to snuff. But still, they had some pretty good stories over the course of the run, such as say look at my notes. Look at my notes here. You've got Siren's birth, and when one of Madrox's dupes knocks her up, her and Monet actually, but Monet managed to avoid that fate. It's like she, even though they're both prepared to become new parents to this kid, that doesn't happen. In fact, what actually happens, because one of Madrox's dupes is the father, it's actually really creepy and really traumatic. I mean, it's one of the dramatic high points of the series, and it's like, oh god, man, that was incredibly nasty. Then you also got the Rain, when she comes back to the team after leaving to join X Force. More on that in a bit. She essentially Rain's like the religious type, but David's clever enough to play her, or no, smart enough to play her as her religion is not being the defining trait in her personality. It's just part of it. But she, when she shows up pregnant, she initially says that okay, it's Richter's baby, because she doesn't want to have to worry about him going to hell because he's gay. So she tries that at first, but then it's not actually his kid. It's actually one of the Norse wolf gods, Hermhari, and and when she actually does give birth to it, she's the kid winds up killing the person who was nearby, one of the Greek gods, Agamemnon, and Rain is completely horrified by it. So she has to deal with the fact that she rejected her kid right off the bat, and we also find out the consequences of that. It's in the Hell on Earth War. When we find out that that because her son Tyr was the 7th billionth person born on Earth, all the Hell Lords, including Mephisto, Hela, Pluto, and Satanish, a couple of the other Marvel Hell gods, they find out that, hey, if we can kill this person, it's we're going to make this the we're going to be Lords of Hell and be able to craft and be able to bring about our reign on Earth. Now, it seems like a really weird point to make climax for X Factor, which has been, like I said, generally character driven, off to the left side of the Marvel universe. But hey, it's this is something that David had properly built up and actually had a lot of good twists throughout the course of the series, just throughout the course of the story, which I won't spoil here because they were actually spoiled for me, as the story is being serialized. But the Hell on Earth War is actually an appropriately epic climax for the series, and it's properly set up as well. So that I really liked. Also, worth noting is the fact that that a lot of artists worked on this series. I mean, 112 issues in this age. Yeah, they had a little fuck ton of artists here, but the best were Pablo Raimondi, who really nailed the noir sensibilities for this title, and was also great with the character. I mean, all of these artists were great with the character expressions. Valentine Delandro, who illustrated probably the lion's share of the of X Factor issues. She was great with the like she was great with expressions and just making everything seem grounded throughout the course of the series. Emanuela Lupacino, who came on board in the latter half, she had a great cartoonish expressiveness to her characters, and Leonard Kirk, who isn't quite who was stylistically similar to Stuart Immonen, but not quite, but still manages a great deal of energy and stylishness to his work. So I think these four artists were fantastic, and it was great seeing them throughout the series. Now, like I said, lots of good stuff, but here's the bad stuff. Bad stuff is that they actually had to that David had to contend with a lot of editorial interference throughout the course of his run. Like Wolfsbane, Rain Sinclair, she was basically like she had to depart the series after the Messiah Complex because she was going to be part of X Factor, not X Force, I mean. And so so like David had to do an entire story where he wrote her out of it, and eventually he wrote her back. He got she left the Force, and David wrote her back in. And also had to address a lot of the baggage that came with her as a result. I mean, David is good in the sense that one of the strengths that he's good with playing with this kind of stuff. But at the same time, you can see like the gears turning in the sense that this isn't really what he wanted, but he's making the best of a bad situation here. And David also he managed to avoid dealing with a lot of X-Men crossovers for the most part. He only had to directly participate in a Messiah Complex, and then eventually had he had to do a tie-in arc for Second Coming, and then he had to deal with the I can't remember what the name of the initiative they started after Schism was, but there you go. So he had to play ball with that. I mean the post Schism setup basically had Madrox being written out of the leader role, and then Havoc and Polaris, who were part of the team back in the mid '90s, being written back in. So Havoc took over as leader, and he got some good banter with him and Jamie, matching wits over who was like the real leader of the team. But eventually, it was kind of like Havoc had to be written out again because he was going to go lead the Uncanny Avengers. So I mean, David is good enough that like a lot of the stuff will seem fairly reasonable as you're reading it, but he still had to contend with a lot of like stuff beyond his control in this run. One other thing that didn't work was I mentioned the great artists, but one person who missed the ball entirely was Larry Stroman. Now Stroman was the artist of David for most of David's run back in the '90s, and he had this great impressionistic, exaggerated style that worked. That worked really well for going against the grain of the conventional, Jim Lee dominated style of the mid '90s. But seeing him here, oh God, it fucking hurt my eyes. It was like Stroman was trying to adapt his style to being the more detail oriented, straightforward superhero styles of the time, and it just did not work. Fortunately, it was only in one volume. I think volume 6, Secret Invasion, and then they eventually kicked him to the curb, where they got Valentine Delandro to come back as a regular artist. Thank God, but it was it was painful. But also, one other thing I didn't like about the series was the revelation of what Layla Miller's powers actually were. Now, the fact that she was able to come up with these clever Deus Ex Machina situations, I thought it was that the idea was hey, maybe she can see causality, seeing how she can actually see the butterfly effect. I thought that was like a cool idea for mutant power, but that wasn't it. turns out, she was actually given like a history lesson by her future self, and she can actually bring back the dead, which is okay. But when she brings back the dead, they don't have a soul. So okay, I mean, we get to see the results of that later in the series, but it's it's kind of awkward here. It's like, and to be honest, I think that the idea of a mutant who can see causality. I mean, I'm really gonna talk about like my imposing my thoughts on this run. It's like I like the idea that she that like the idea of a mutant who can see like like the butterfly effect is much more interesting than one who has knowledge of the future and can bring back the dead. I mean, David does get some good mileage out of her future knowledge, but not enough to make me think that my idea was better. So, but hey, you can deal with it. Anyway, also David's sense of humor is largely reliant on lots of pop culture references and like self and also like certain amounts of cleverness as well. So I mean, if you like seeing all that stuff, then you're not going to mind too much. But otherwise, it's kind of like if you don't like hearing lots of like stuff you've seen in stuff you've heard in advertisements before, then yeah, you're going to have issues with this run. I mean, it may seem kind of smug, but it doesn't bother me too much. In fact, I like recognizing the whole like get it, got it, good bit from Nike in the '90s being reprised here. But if you're talking about like '90s pop culture references, then yeah, it's kind of stale as it is. Anyway, but also then you've got the whole end of X Factor, which after the Hell on Earth War, we got like 6 straight issues of epilogue, as David basically gives each individual issue for a lot of an issue for resolving some of the main like dangling plot threads from the series. So I mean, you've got Layla coming into contact with Jamie Madrox, who's been turned into a demon. You've got Rain Sinclair running into Jamie's pastor dupe, John Maddox, and becoming the Deacon, which is actually good. Then you've also got Richter and Shatterstar untangling like a decade-old bit of continuity, which was okay. It's basically a Robert Heinlein style. I'm the father of myself, who is also my father, who's also my father as well, type bit. Polaris, who her whole situation winds up setting up the next iteration of X Factor. Darwin and Monet, like finding happiness together, such as it is, and Guido settling into his role as ruler of Hell, and also a final bit with Jamie and Layla. Jamie still in demon form, but finding a nice convenient Deus Ex Machina in order to turn him back to humanness in the end. So some of these are good, particularly the Rain Sinclair becoming a deacon, but a lot of stuff does kind of feel rushed, and it's nice to have proper ending for all these things, but it's kind of like I kind of wish things were just we just had a little bit more room to work with each issue, and in the end as well. I mean, overall, I enjoyed it, and also worth noting is that even though the X Factor can be delineated into 250 issue, 2 runs, issues 1 through 50, and then issues 200 through 212, 262, I mean, and while 1 through 50 are collected in 8 trade paperbacks, the back half is settled into say 13, because Marvel decided, hey, X Factor doesn't sell all that well, but we can gouge even more from its audience, like me, regrettably, by putting them into 4 issue trade paperbacks, which is annoying as fuck, I swear. And but fortunately, they are reprinting all of David's run, well, so far at least, as complete collections, collecting 2 or 3 trade paperbacks and one shots at a time. So overall, it's if you're an X fan who was looking for something that is much more character driven and off the beaten path than the usual, then yeah, David's run is a lot of fun. Other than that, it's like but it's all like I said, it's very David's work isn't like kind of like like the overplan like the really like thoroughly planned Jonathan Hickman stuff where like you've got a definite beginning, middle, and end for it. You've got Dick David's is kind of like hey, like he's just gonna he's much more traditional. Like, hey, I'm just gonna keep writing stuff up until they tell me like I gotta stop. So it's very like freeform, like I'm just having like an issue, an arc at a time. Like I don't have like a definite plan for it. I'm just gonna keep going as like as long as I want, and like for all these characters, like to say all I want about these characters, and it's fun on those terms. I mean, it doesn't lead up to anything like definitive or shocking or like epoch changing, but it's good fun. And overall, it's like I enjoyed it. Like John, it's like any particular thoughts on David's rambling run here?
No, it seems to be an interesting run. How long did he work on it?
Uh, like I said, like if you don't count the Madrox multiple choice miniseries, then his whole run on X Factor here was 112 issues.
Oh,
So
wow.
we're talking about like in this, he like Marvel like even though like the series like never sold gangbusters, it did have a very dedicated audience, which allowed Marvel to double and even triple ship issues in a given month. So they managed to get like much more issues than they would like, in like an 8-year span. So
No, that's interesting. Hmm. Yeah, just I know he's done some other things as well. Other comics besides this one.
oh yeah, it's like he's incredibly prolific, and even though he had a stroke towards the end of his X Factor run, that he was so far ahead that it did not slow him down at all. Because
Hmm.
the man is a fucking he's a fucking Iron Man. So there you go.
He's a real life Iron Man, folks. All right, well, cool. You know what you're going to talk about next time?
Oh, damned if I know at this point. I'll figure something out, but it's not coming to me right now.
All right, well, you'll just have to pull it out of your magic hat or
Yes.
bag of tricks or whatever. All right, well, until next time, we'll talk to you next later. And comment picks by the Glick.
All right. Later, everyone.
Bye.